Inspired by my video of Emily's revenge targets, here comes a little course how to become a master or mistress of revenge in 10 steps. I put together a total subjective top 10 of my favorite tactics Emily used during her revenge agenda. Some of the manipulation tactics and schemes are very similar, yet I hope you see the differences. So here are the 10 steps Emily maybe would approve to succeed in revenge. The first step is to find a way not being seen. Number 10 is obviously derived from the playbook of spies, down-dressing in order to blend perfectly into her environment. We see that in her first and only flashback with Daniel from season 1. I always assumed that in another agent analogy she was spying on Daniel for some time to gather information about his routine and preferences.
But your game started long before this, didn't it? An article in the Harvard Crimson highlighting Daniel's freshman year. I imagine that's where you first set your sights on him.
As with all things you want to be good at, preparation is the key. Studying your targets and getting to know every little detail about them is not just to show off how good you are in research. If you want to be prepared for everything, you must know all the deepest secrets and desires of your target.
Infinite freedom. That's what I want. I'm weighed down by my father's expectations, my mother's disapproving eye, but mostly by the world's perception of what it means to be a Grayson. I don't want to be limited by all that for the rest of my life.
Do you know who this man is? Nope. He is poised to be one of the richest men in America. Wow. But he wants to throw all that away and become a penniless poet.
Interesting is that Emily not only spies on him and tries to prevent being seen by him. When he asks for her opinion, she already begins to try to bring him up against his parents.
Oh, no. Who do I ask you? I mean, I can't be who I am and a poet at the same time. My parents would never allow it.
You want people to see something different when they hear your last name? Make them see it. Be better than your parents. Ain't nothing more poetic than that.
But be careful, because remember, the first step was not to be recognizable. So if your impression gets too big, your target might will remember you, and your superpower of being unnoticed while you stalking someone is just gone. The second step is to make believe you belong here. Which brings us directly to number 9, Emily's several disguises. For me, these little scenes were always a highlight because I love those spy stories. I have never seen Alias, but I like those episodes in TV shows when our hero or heroine is forced to pretend to be another person. This is always such a fun because they mostly go for the biggest difference between real and fake persona. This comes handy when you are trying to get information that is normally out of your reach, like patient files from a doctor or psychiatrist. So always keep some glasses for a professional look in your closet, and some uniforms like a doctor's white coat. Of course, no one will question why you are here in this building and what your profession is. Remember step 1. Change your hair with wigs so you become unrecognizable to those you might see twice. The best scene, and one of my favorites, was her impersonating a waitress from the Suffolk Inn to evoke Conrad's heart attack. So she can later reveal his affair with Lydia, Victoria's best friend.
Oh my God, is this your husband? And then yesterday at the South Fork Inn. I hope your husband's feeling better.
Though I doubt that she had to make her appearance that close to the waitress, 'cause neither Conrad nor Lydia take a look at her. Most memorable was her stunt with Lee Moran. And she really looked transformed in this disguise with her boots and the long brown hair. Like the perfect rocker chic. I assume she wanted to look most attractive for a guy like Lee Moran to lure him into this trap.
Something I want to give you.
Oh yeah? Right here in the alley?
Mm-hmm. This is for Jack.
Who?
That was for Daniel.
That was surely one of the coolest moments in season 1. And definitely my top 10 revenge moments from the whole show. Because it was so gratifying how she beats up this guy who before assaulted not only Jack but Daniel in prison.
You look transformed.
Everything looks different in the harsh light of day.
Her disguise as prostitute in season 2 was for once a real mission she undertook for Takeda. Like Aiden, who worked in the club as a waiter, she wanted to get near to these Russian dudes who sex traffic women.
You got a name?
Sergei Lovsky. You know where I can find him?
No, that doesn't suit you.
What?
Your profession.
And a pro tip from Emily. Use your disguise and pretend to be the perfect version of the person you are impersonating. Like Emily does here by making her fake young prostitute persona whole. She is just an innocent girl who does everything for money.
You would fill in for her. Pays $3,000. How old are you?
For $3,000. How old do you want me to be? My daddy was in the service. He taught me how to protect myself.
Your daddy, huh?
Do not forget your badge. You need at least one to give yourself and your questions more authority. Most people will not lie to a police officer, and they are definitely intimidated by an FBI agent. In season 1 she impersonated an FBI agent to get Nolan's aunt to talk before she knew they were related. In season 3 her stunt with Pascal was graver, as we heard in season 4.
From threats that she made posing as a Homeland Security agent, which is a federal crime.
Cause impersonating a Homeland Security officer obviously was the crime with which Victoria could pin her down. Really funny if you see that in contrast to the crimes Victoria and Conrad are culpable for. Yet Season 4 made fun of her ability to take on every profession and disguise. She became a health inspector to save Louise from Claremont, a firefighter to get the flash drive with the evidence Victoria had against her. Last but not least, she impersonates a secretary again to get the crucial information about whose body Victoria burned in Grayson Manor to fake her own death. And for all die-hard fans as I am, Nolan's one-time try as cable guy. This disguise was really hilarious.
You didn't notice the lights flickering?
One more thing before you go. Do you have a card so I can talk to your supervisor? But tell him how happy I am with the service. Coming to fix a problem I didn't even know I had.
I don't. Practically a paperless company. Trying to offset our carbon footprint. We do have a website where you can submit a form.
I'll do that, Bert. What's your last name?
Simmons. Have a good evening. You should have seen me. I was hacked into an electrical grid, jammed a satellite, and paid off a cable guy. You'd have been proud.
The third step is making sure people get the right information, even if it is not true. This step, or my number 8 from Emily's top 10 revenge tactics, will consume most of your time, especially if you go for misinformation and falsifying evidence, cause the false information has to look authentic to arouse not the slightest suspicion. Most prominent was the exposition of Michelle Banks' private sessions with her patients.
You hit bottom.
Close. I drove my children to summer camp, loaded on painkillers and vodka.
Hamptons exposed.
How can I explain to my husband that I slept with his sister?
And do not forget to deflect suspicion. If you are one of those people affected by these revelations, they most likely will not suspect you to be the leak.
A lot for me to get physical with anybody.
Oh my God.
I just wish I knew for sure that I could trust him.
Several times she faked evidence to either punish one of her targets or protect her loved ones. Her second takedown, Bill Harmon, was the most prominent victim of this tactic. And this was almost too easy because Bill Harmon is the perfect combination of a player and greedy person.
Emily, Bill Harmon. Listen, that little bird that whispered all calm.
Feeding him with the wrong information, Emily had just to watch how he sealed his own fate.
Can't understand why you'd leak the wrong info when you had access to the no-core memos. You knew I was going with you in attack.
Yes, but Bill Harmon didn't. He bet big on Allcom. $2 billion of his fund's assets down the drain. He's ruined.
This tactic can also be used to protect your allies. Emily framed Tyler for Frank's murder, who was actually killed by Fomander, to protect Emily's secret. Then she frames Lee Moran to save both Daniel and Jack. She lets the police find the hoodie with Tyler's blood, who belonged to Jack, in his car.
Your sweatshirt, is that blood?
That's not mine. That's not mine.
Lee Moran, you're under arrest.
Come on, it's not my sweatshirt. I'm being set up.
Anything you say.
Oh, man, Ems, when you said you were going to use Lee as your pawn, you weren't kidding. So in one fell swoop, you managed to protect Jack, exonerate Daniel, and haven't you tied everything up in one neat little bow.
And when she burns Mason Treadwell's house, she leaves Fomander's zipper, so she will be framed for this. Which is kind of funny cause it was actually Amanda who burned his house to the ground. I guess this was the reason for him to return the favor with Victoria burning down Grayson Manor in Season 4.
Yes, I heard. Your house went up in flames. Tragic. Gee, I wonder how that feels.
My favorite case in this is of course Emily's attempt to frame Victoria for her murder in Season 3. Though it is more an example on how to not do this, because the plan was far too complicated and had too much moving parts.
Before you board the Grayson yacht, I'm going to sneak on side and preset the gun we bought in Victoria's name. Then I will hide out and wait until exactly 9:10,
At which point you will premiere the Grayson family slideshow.
When everyone's watching, I'll make sure Victoria leaves.
Then I'll make sure she's trapped.
And I'll only fire once I've poured my blood on deck as evidence that she shot me.
Once you've jumped overboard, I'll release Victoria's door, ensuring her lack of alibi.
Nonetheless, it was fun to watch how her plan was derailed, first by Lydia and later by Daniel.
I thought I'd bring you a real drink, since I suspect you're about as pregnant as I am. Now, who are you?
As of 5 hours ago, I'm Emily Grayson.
You were as worthless to me as this bracelet.
Goodbye, Victoria.
2 minutes, then fire.
I heard everything.
Daniel.
Are you gonna shoot me?
No, I'm sorry.
The fourth step derives directly from counterintelligence. Using misinformation to stir up trouble and turn allies against each other. But be warned, your enemies will surely use the same tactics against you. Manipulating others to do the dirty work is her and Conrad's go-to move. They used money and political favors to get the conspirators on board. And if it did not help, like with Roger Halstead, who was the only friend David Clarke had left, they turned to intimidation and violence. In great contrast to Emily and Nolan, they even did not back off from murder. However, number 7 has more to do with a war and espionage tactic. It is like blowing up the inner circle with lies or true information to bring allies up against each other and destroy the alliance. Victoria and Daniel tried this in season 3 when they both went after Emily. But it was Emily who used it first in her vendetta against the Graysons. Mostly on Victoria's children, Daniel and Charlotte. She gave them the information they needed to see their parents for what they are. For example, when she leaked the therapy session tape of Victoria, in which she talked about Charlotte.
Truth is, I'd never really felt close to Charlotte. Sometimes I wonder if having a second child was a mistake.
Charlotte, what? No, I'm done dressing up and pretending to be someone I'm not. You wish I was never born? Makes 2 of us.
Later, when she revealed that Charlotte is David Clarke's daughter, first to Conrad to bring him up against his wife, and later she wanted to do the same with Charlotte.
Do you know the name of my favorite aunt? The one who raised me? Well, Victoria does. Weeks later, she gave birth to a baby girl. She named her Charlotte, same as my aunt. I think that she did it to send me a message that the little girl she was raising with Conrad is mine.
It is interesting that Emily did not try more to manipulate Victoria and Conrad. Your enemies will get suspicious, so do not get too far with your manipulation, otherwise they might find out you're having a hidden agenda, and they also could find out about your true identity. So Daniel and Charlotte were her main focus for this tactic. To weaken the enemy by separating sheep from the flock. It is a common tactic in hunting for most predators. And it was the first thing that made Victoria suspicious.
I don't imagine I have to tell you that things between Daniel and myself have been strained since you've come into the picture.
And I hope you know I've never had any intention of getting between you and your son.
So always stay cautious and try to disperse every little suspicion about your true motives as soon as possible. But this was not only a technique Emily used for the Grayson family. When she found out about Gordon Murphy and the initiative, she tried everything to lure him out. Even putting the Graysons against their former allies.
This is getting kinkier and creepier by the moment. May I ask what you hope to gain by this?
Conrad will see it as a threat. He'll think the white-haired man is spying on his son, and he'll be forced to reach out to him.
For me, this was her weakest move in season 2. Trying to get a hold of this organization by bringing them all up against each other and seeding mistrust wherever she could. It became such a mess and chaos that the audience and I certainly lost track of all the little missions within her revenge agenda. And for what? Only to get to know from Conrad that this was all a waste of time because he was to blame and used the initiative again to divert the guilt and distract his enemies. Yet fun was when she used it in season 3 to keep Daniel on her side and go through with the wedding.
They may still be falling for that little act of yours, but not me.
Oh, Lydia, I think you've pretty much cornered the market on falling, don't you think?
Daniel, you're overreacting. She's fine.
Mom, she's pregnant.
Sorry, Victoria, I didn't want you to find out this way, but you're gonna be a grandmother.
What the hell is wrong with you? I told you we wanted to keep the pregnancy news quiet, and you leaked it anyway. And for what? Another shot at Emily?
I did nothing of the sort. And what makes you so certain that she wasn't behind it?
Come on, what possible reason could she have?
To make certain that you marry her.
She is going to be my wife, whether you like it or not. This time tomorrow, Emily and I will be married. You lost. Okay, it's over.
Cause she brought him up against his mother, even though in his heart Daniel began to understand that Victoria was right with everything she told him about his future wife. So feeding Busy with false information about her first husband and having her bring that straight to Victoria was a see-through but still elegant move to agitate against Victoria without saying a word herself.
But young Emily was married once before.
I beg your pardon. He's very handsome and extremely wealthy. Surely you haven't forgotten that. After all, he was your husband.
What?
Never do you write or call. I see now why. How busy you must be with this young one.
This is a joke, right?
It's not what you think. It was a marriage of convenience. I did it to help Rohan.
Oh, with what?
True love. I was being in danger of deportation, and I had just fallen for someone.
I helped Rohan obtain his green card so that he could stay with his partner, Benny. Hi.
When you confessed to Busy Preston about your marriage, you knew that Victoria would take the bait and spend the next 2 weeks chasing her tail.
And anyone who was there today can testify to how desperate Victoria was to destroy my engagement.
The evidence does keep piling up.
I know many hate the episodes after Emily was shot and had her blackouts. But for me it was fun to watch that she still tried to go on with her revenge. Interesting that she used precisely the same tactics with almost the same devastating consequences. Takeda must have drummed this into her mind. That she had still access to this knowledge even though she was in this fragile state of mind. Because I love this part of Season 3, I will talk about all of her takedowns in this phase. They are interesting because they show us again how flawed Emily's plans and manipulations can be. Her first targets are of course Daniel and Sarah. In a twisted way she thinks she has to keep Daniel on her side.
So am I! We did this to each other, Daniel. You took from me, so I took from you, don't you see? We belong together.
So Emily uses everything in her arsenal to get rid of Sarah. First by bringing the two up against each other.
Right now, your earthiness is what's catching his eye, but you don't fit in here. I'm actually proud of that. Until people find out about you and start judging him.
Which I agree could have been better achieved if she just told Sarah the truth that Daniel shot her. I think this would have made Sarah scared of Daniel and their relationship would have been over in the long run. But since neither Sarah nor Daniel listen to the poison Emily spills, she is using Sarah's mother to make her see she does not belong at Grayson Manor.
This home wrecker.
No, it's not like that. Danny and I love each other.
So you can do whatever you want?
She destroyed my relationship with my mother, and that was just her first swing at me. This isn't me. I got swept up in something, and I want out.
Interesting was her last move against Lydia. I still think it was her biggest mistake to announce that she shot her. Yes, she hurt Conrad with this move and sealed Lydia's fate for once and for all. She finally got rid of that troublemaker who could have destroyed her whole mission twice by almost revealing her true identity. Emily was only lucky that both Victoria and Lydia were so fixated on the idea that Emily is a fraud and con artist, that like Mason they did not see what was right under their nose. Anyway, in the fallout of this final takedown of Lydia, she lost an ally and did the one thing that helped both Daniel and Victoria. Not only that I would have liked to see Daniel pay for his deed. I mean he shot his wife in their wedding night. And for what? For a misunderstanding that his affair tried to kill himself for the things he put her through.
Not after you hurt yourself like you did.
You think I tried to kill myself? Because you married Emily? That is so typical Grayson, believing everything is about you.
Your roommate called.
I was drunk, Danny. I passed out in the bath and almost drowned. I was stupid.
He was the one who gave her hope that there would be a reconciliation, and he was the one who broke up with her. Those were all his decisions. Yes, Emily's pregnancy lie is despicable, but he could have chose to cancel the wedding anyway. You can commit to a child without getting married to the mother. Hey, he still could have broken up with her but shared custody. He even could have stole the kid from her with all the power of the Grayson family after it was born and raise it together with Sarah.
There's been much speculation as to who shot me, and I want to set the record straight.
Anyway, I really thought, especially the way they cut it with those intercuts to Daniel and Victoria, that Emily would have told the truth and sealed Daniel's fate once more. Okay, they could not go back to the end of Season 3 and make a whole justice drama out of this. But again, they could have showed how powerful the Grayson family and their lawyer team is. They could have come up with his drinking issues and the fact that he was under great emotional stress after that call about Sarah's alleged suicide. And in the meantime, the team could have investigated Emily like Daniel and Victoria did. This could have become interesting very fast, because they would have certainly not only find out about Aiden. It could have become a chase between the investigators and Emily to keep her most important secret still a guarded one until she was ready to take down Conrad and Victoria. Anyway, instead of this mixture of saving Daniel and failing taking him down, it would have been far more interesting if she actually had tried to take the Grayson boy down to punish him for his many crimes he had commit. Shooting Emily in Season 3 was just the cherry on top. His descent into darkness began when he colluded with Conrad and took over Grayson Global in Season 2.
Don't remember you ever looking more dashing. Wall Street's new golden boy.
Her last targets, Aiden and Nico, show us how her emotion could have really become the reason for her downfall. Cause she turned the rage over the death of her father Takeda into a dangerous weapon and lost control over this ally. And almost lost the love of her life in the process. So I hated this one the most.
What the hell are you doing, Nico?
Avenging my father. You didn't think I'd find this under your bed? But you had to help Emily. And when she shows up here to save you, I'm gonna kill her. You took someone I love on this spot. You can watch while I do the same.
While these takedowns show us how to not make it again, after her breakdown, Emily shows us how to get back on track. By taking a step back, and her retreat move by seemingly taking herself down.
Just want to make sure you're okay. Press is saying some pretty harsh stuff.
No, I'm fine. Everything went as expected.
Of course. You were behind it.
I had to create a public break from the Graysons, and I needed them to feel like they won.
This might have been the most elegant move of her in Season 3. Not only because of the high-class environment at the opera, By the way, a nice hint at the original story cause many of the revelations took part at the social event of the time, the opera. Anyway, it was fun to watch that she managed to pull this off with minimal collateral damage. I mean, her personal image in the Hamptons community must be something that is as important to Emily as dirt on her shoes. She never cared about her reputation unless it was for revenge-ender purposes. In season 1, she did not even try to deny her criminal past in UV.
After my parents died, I went through some pretty dark times. I ended up at Allenwood.
What's Allenwood?
It's a maximum security juvenile correctional facility.
Why maximum security?
My last foster father abused us. I put a stop to it.
Daniel and Victoria already knew about her fake pregnancy, so there was no damage here.
You can run, Emily, but this will follow you. Your dirty little secret is out. You're nothing but a fraud and a liar who deceived my son into marriage. Emily Thorne, you are done here.
This is over.
You don't know what you're doing.
Emily, dear, it's time to leave.
Don't touch me.
I just love her dress in this high-class opera setting. So here the whole sequence with Emily repeating her surrender move. Her running and the close-up on her heels gives us this Cinderella vibes. Like a twisted fairy tale turned bad. The only thing again that falls off the wagon was Charlotte. Cause with this she destroyed their renewed relationship again. Now she had an enemy in Charlotte again, but this move can lead to new problems, cause you should be aware that you make yourself new enemies, so be sure not to antagonize the most powerful people here. The fifth step is the most important and primal one. Again, it has to do with typical spy work, collecting dirt on people to use it against them. Now that we are already halfway through your training, number 6 of Emily's revenge tactics shows us the most common and fast way to destroy the reputation of people. Now you gather information to use them against your targets, not only to blackmail but to destroy them. Very close to the original story of Dumas Emily is to find dirt on them. Either a scandal or something that would make the authorities aware of them breaking the law. It begins with Senator Kingsley and his kinky affair. Which is even more despicable, cause he is a pro-lifer but wants his mistress to have an abortion. Then she gets rid of Frank Stevens by exposing what really happened to Lydia.
Eventually, someone's gonna find you out.
Not if they believe it's all been Frank. As far as the Graysons know, Lydia attempted suicide. When they see this video, they'll know that Frank lied to them. Frank dug his own grave. All we need is for Victoria and Conrad to bury him in it.
Step 6 is crucial. You have to get fit in body and mind. Find a trainer or mentor who can help you with this transformation. Cause you have to train hard if you want to be faster and smarter than your targets. Also for life and death situations when you have to defend yourself. Then your body has to be a weapon. By the way, you will look better. This will get handy when we come to the last step. Number 5 is not that easy because it is more like a background theme. Early on when Takeda is introduced, we get to know that Emily was in some kind trained for her revenge mission. They keep it in the dark what this revenge camp taught her. In season 2 we have some flashbacks with Aiden to shed a little light on that. Obviously they were trained in war tactics and mind games. Physical training of course and weapon use, cause Emily not only knows how to use a gun.
He cheated!
Yes, he understood the exercise. To exploit your opponent's weakness, that is the key to revenge.
In season 4 when she is imprisoned with Margot, she threatens her with a homemade weapon and tells her that she learned to make a weapon out of every object available.
I trained comprehensively to get revenge for my father. During my schooling, I learned a little something called practical munitions, the art of taking anything from your immediate environment and turning it into a weapon.
Okay, you could say she lied and just wants to intimidate Margot in this scene. But given her time in UV where she certainly learned to defend herself in all those fights with the real Emily Thorne, it would have been plausible that Emily learned from Takeda not only how to use a modern gun or a knife. It certainly depends on your mission and what you want to achieve, but mind games and manipulation are always a good start. Physical strength is good for protection's sake. I guess all those mind games and tactical thinking was something Takeda put into her mind. Because as a teenager she was most malleable. Nolan often makes fun of this in season 2. Especially regarding Aiden, who seems to be the most bad revenge student in retrospect.
Am I missing anything?
No.
Why do I get the feeling this isn't what Takeda had in mind when he handed you your revenge degrees?
He not only failed to save his sister, he also kills his mentor and tries to end Emily's revenge ender before she can succeed.
To save you, too, from this empty life of vengeance. It's time.
For you, maybe. And I can't just walk away, not now. Maybe not ever.
Step 7 might seem not that important. But if you are up against a very dangerous and powerful enemy, who would not think twice about killing you, you need a good decoy. Best be someone who already has a bad reputation. So the revelation about his or her bad deeds is no surprise. Better safe than sorry. This step is delicate because you have to always be prepared when someone digs deeper and tries to find out your biggest secret. And it can also be important who you choose. I think Emily did not the best job here. While in the original story Edmond Dantes creates this story about the wealthy Count of Monte Cristo, Amanda finds a real person who can also function as a decoy, her cell inmate Emily Thorne.
I have a favor to ask you. You're not having second thoughts, are you?
Only if that check bounces.
It won't. Thank you again for doing this.
I'd do anything for you.
Stay strong, Amanda.
You too, Emily.
We do not know if this was all alone Emily's idea or if Takeda, maybe that prison guard lady, drove her into this direction. Maybe it was a combination of all and Emily came up with the idea who to use for this. Takeda certainly gave some sort of advice cause he told Aiden that it was a bad idea not to change his identity. He seems to have made an exception for Aiden cause he wanted to keep his name so his sister Colleen could find him. After all, he still had hope that she was alive. Anyway, using the obsession of her former cellmate Emily Thorne was the best move of Amanda. She got an ally who would literally do everything for her. I mean, this is huge, giving up your whole identity. And Emily told her several times she did not only make it for the money. Even better, especially after Fomanda arrived in the Hamptons, Emily had a pet-see for her enemies. Even though Victoria doubted from day one that Fomanda was actually Amanda Clarke.
Did you know Amanda was in town?
It came to my attention. If she's indeed David's daughter, there's no way that girl is David Clarke's daughter.
In this case, you should have someone on your side. Best practice, someone in the inner circle who can make sure that suspicion do not turn into facts. Until season 3, Emily was above suspicion regarding her true identity. Nobody thought she could be the daughter of a convicted terrorist. Even Mason took the wrong assumption from his discovery of Emily's UV file.
An Allenwood photo. I've never denied my time in juvie.
And yet you pretend to have only met Amanda Clarke last year, which leads me to conclude that your paramour and your former cellmate are one and the same.
You think that Amanda and I were lovers?
How else to explain your living in her childhood home, bankrolling her exorbitant crusade?
You were this close, Mason. But you missed the one thing that's been right under your nose the whole time. She's not Amanda Clarke.
And you should also be aware of some problems that come with the person itself. I think Emily underestimated Formunda's violent tendencies, and they could become a problem for her if she cannot stay out of trouble and jail. 8. Finding a trustworthy ally who can help you with all the technical stuff. Most people are no pros when it comes to hacking. So you need an ally on your side who can spare you a lot of time and money.
Well, well, well. It isn't the thorn in everyone's side.
To what do I owe the pleasure?
Is it possible to hack a computer tablet to run a PowerPoint presentation?
Possible for you or possible for me?
Can you do it or not?
With both hands tied behind my back.
You are only 3 steps away from your revenge degree. So one of your last preparations is to find the right allies. So number 3 is our favorite hacker, Nolan Ross.
Ems? I'm in. Hacking into the FBI should get harder as I get older, but nope. Wham bam. Thanks, Uncle Sam. What would you do if your bestie wasn't a keyboard cowboy?
Nolan shows us that you can gain new allies anytime. But after his debut with Tom Kingsley, he slowly became indispensable for Emily.
To what do I owe the pleasure? You hardly ever write. You never call.
We're able to hack into the Graysons security system.
Unless you need something.
Can you recover the contact list?
Is that a bullet hole?
Can you fix it or not?
Oh, I'm sorry. Won't ask, won't tell, will fix.
Though I am sure that she could have found a way around without the help of Nolan. It would have been harder for her, and maybe she had to pay someone for the things Nolan handled for her. But she could have managed this without him. Not without his emotional support, of course. Cause after their work relationship was established, their personal friendship evolved.
2 years ago, I never would have thought I'd have a partner in all this, or a real friend.
And he was after Aiden, the one person Emily could always turn to. So he was far more than just a replication of Q. Though his first solo takedown with Tyler was a spectacular failure, Nolan was a big help whenever Emily came to a dead end. In season 1 and 2 he was some kind of her personal assistant. Until in season 3 he some kind managed her revenge agenda. By requiring the needed information about her targets and working out the details of her plan to take down Conrad and Victoria. He even got his own 2 revenge targets with the Falcon and Busy Preston. Step 9. Let other people do the dirty work. With all the steps before, you already became a master in retrieving information to blackmail people. Whether you are a natural or just trained in reading people. This will help you find the right buttons to push to make them do whatever serves your agenda. Number 2 is one of my favorites moves Emily took again from professional spies, using other people to do the dirty work. Nolan began like this. But mostly Emily used more unsteady persons who were far easier to manipulate. Like the real Emily Thorne, for example. But she is far beyond the only one Emily used in Season 1. Tyler Barrell, his ambition and mental health issues were the perfect mix for Emily. First she used him and Lydia to blackmail the Graysons, so the initial suspicion of Frank and Victoria were diverted from her.
Lydia is behind everything. I just found her open arm speech on her computer.
You have proof of this?
I'm staring at it.
Later Tyler became the perfect scapegoat for Frank's murder.
So they found Frank's wallet in Tyler, and he's now the prime suspect in their murder investigation.
In Season 2 and 3, part-time allies became essential for Emily's success. In becoming literally the out-of-jail card, you can not only get rid of people but gain new allies.
Lawyer's gonna help you now, Mason.
You must be proud of yourself, lulling me into complacency only to double-cross me. I assume you're here to gloat?
You will go to prison for crimes you didn't commit.
I think I'll pass.
If you do, the police will soon uncover a staggering amount of evidence against you. You're forgetting, Mason, that I'm in possession of the only thing that could one day exonerate you.
Guess you've got a deal, Miss Clarke.
The first one she gained was Mason. She used his bad conscience and the carrot of an exclusive right to her story.
Or just enough time for you to write my entire story. This is the book that we both know you were destined to write.
I guess you've got a deal, Miss Clarke.
Most of them were only one-time allies to achieve one goal, like Patricia Barnes, who helped take down her husband, and Amanda's foster brother, who was so eager to punish their foster mother. When Emily came closer to her real targets in Season 3, she needed help to take Conrad and Victoria down. Her first attempts made it clear again why she needs to stay in hiding and use other people to go into the trenches. 'Cause both Father Paul and Pascal died by trying to get a confession from Conrad.
I want you to persuade him to confess.
If Conrad doesn't come forward, I will.
Time of death, 23:36.
Father Paul's gone. You'll wear this wire to the Michael lunch, where I will watch your every move until you get a confession from Conrad.
Haunted by things we did in our past.
And what were those, pray tell?
Trevor Morris, David Clarke.
Oh, those are your ghosts, Pascal, not mine.
I want to move on. Don't you want the same?
Why aren't you arresting him?
For what? As I was telling the detective. I tried to warn him, but it was too late.
You can't believe a word he says.
The pilot corroborates his story. It's a damn tragedy.
Though manipulating people might seem fun, you should be aware of the consequences. If your enemies are as powerful as the Graysons, your allies will not just be hurt. Nearly all of Emily's allies were killed during her Revengender. Only Nolan and Jack survived. Mostly because others were sacrificed before, like Fomander and Aiden. And they came literally out as the last men standing. The last step maybe is the hardest, or the one with the most fun potential. I guess it depends on your perspective. Deceit people you do not know or do not know well comes easy to most people. But lying to people you care about is hard. So the 10th step is only for those who are really committed to their mission.
I know it must have been for the right reasons if you're willing to sacrifice so much.
Thank you for saying that.
Another thing I kind of enjoyed and disliked at the same time is my number one, using her attractive body. This is a classic move for women. Especially in espionage movies and TV shows. They are mostly portrayed by very attractive women to convey the cliché that most clandestine operations of women rely on the needs of men to chase beautiful girls. In Season 1 they convey this really good, with Emily pursuing Daniel and making him fall in love with her. Especially the contrast with her fake persona when she is around the Graysons, and the revengeful Emily who is punishing her enemies made Season 1 so intriguing to watch. Superficially, Emily is the perfect girlfriend. She does everything to please Daniel and keeps mysterious enough to let him not get fed up with her.
All right, well, I'll see you when I see you.
Wow. First you're evicting the guy, and now you're blowing him off?
Well, you know what they say, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
It is not only her persistency who makes her Daniel's longest relationship. And it is not only his age or the paperwork of his trust fund that makes him consider to marry Emily.
Then you won't have to go through your impetuous plan to marry Emily.
Even if marrying her didn't activate my trust, I'd still do it. I love her, Mom. And if you truly care about my happiness, you'll find a way to love her too.
But again, be prepared for unwanted consequences like confusing feelings.
In love with him.
Of course I'm not.
Your emotions destined you to fail.
I've separated myself from my emotions.
Then you lie, even to yourself.
You should also be aware of having to fight a constant bad conscience, because you are deceiving people you have feelings for. In contrast to Emily, Daniel was most honest to her at the beginning of their relationship.
No matter what happens between us, or what my mother says or does, if me and you last a week, a year, 10 years, forever, I'll always be honest with you. A while ago, I promised you I'd be honest with you no matter what. I thought we both did.
And it was painful to see for Emily and the audience as well how honest he was. It was actually her feelings for Daniel who at first made her doubt her mission.
For me, commitment has a shadow side, a darker drive that constantly asks the question, how far am I willing to go?
This is definitely also the reason why Emily and Daniel worked so good in season 1. Not only that actual feelings were involved on both sides. I mean reality did catch up since Emily VanCamp and Joshua Bowman are married in real life and have a daughter named Iris. And I think it is also the reason why Emily and Jack did not work for me. Cause she is doubting how she is going through with her mission only because of her feelings for Daniel. Not because she loves Jack. Yes, she is protecting him and was shocked that he got attacked because of her revenge moves, but it is not that she wants to stop her revenge ender. Leave the Hamptons and live happily ever after with Jack like this fairy tale ending Nolan is constantly pitching to her.
I think it's clear that I need to minimize the fallout from what I'm doing. Maybe there's a better way to level Victoria than by marrying her son.
What do you plan to do with Daniel?
Tell him that I need to give marrying into his family some more thought.
Though it was fun watching Emily and Daniel fight, the end of their relationship shows us that deceiving people you love is not that easy, even for a trained revenger like Emily.
This is me. Have you forgotten who I am? Who you're marrying?
Have you? I'm a Grayson, Emily. There are certain pressures and expectations placed upon me. Upon us. Maybe you've forgotten the family you're marrying into.
Trust me, Daniel, I couldn't forget your family if I tried.
While Jack has to call her out multiple times and she does not even acknowledge how much she is hurting him and that Jack is most of the time her collateral damage. Maybe she is so much in denial that she cannot even admit this to herself. Anyway, I love this conflict they build around this angle she found to infiltrate the Grayson family.
There are multiple ways you could have infiltrated my family. You chose me. Why?
Cause Daniel is right, she had multiple ways to do this. I mean, for starters, she could have used Charlotte. Especially after she got to know the truth about her being David Clarke's daughter, too. Another thing, using Daniel to get close to the Graysons was not without risk. She just have not only stumbled across what happened with Sarah. She surely knew long before she set her sights on Victoria's son that they had a very unhealthy relationship and that Victoria was obsessed with all of Daniel's girlfriends. Unlike her foremost strategy to fly under the radar, she put herself very much into the spotlight by hooking up with Daniel. She must have known that this would have made her in some kind of target of Victoria's suspicion. I mean, Frank's investigation of her almost had her unmasked.
Your name's not really Amanda Clarke, is it? It's Emily Thorne.
The truth is, I'm not really the person that you fell in love with.
You have to be careful that your emotions does not cloud your judgment like it did with Emily sometimes. Even Nolan called her out on this in season 2.
Daniel will not stop.
I can handle Daniel Grayson. He's really not so formidable, at least when there aren't feelings involved.
Also because Victoria was a constant threat. In season 3 she was merely lucky that it took so long for her to see the true nature of Emily's agenda.
None of this was chance. It was Emily. Imagine hiding your life away. This goes much farther. It's revenge. For David.
If she had found out sooner, not only Emily's mission had failed, she had also lost her life like her decoy Amanda did. And do not get tangled up in your own lies believing you can actually change people.
So much about wanting to be your own man.
What if the man I am is no better than my DNA?
If you truly don't want to follow in your parents' footsteps, then don't.
In season 1 they were very close to the original love story between Edmond Dantes and his fiancée Mercedes in Dumas' story. Becoming the Count of Monte Cristo put up a barrier between him and his former lover.
Why did you not come to me?
Why did you not wait? You married the very man who betrayed...
I told you, remember, that it would never leave my finger, and it never has.
Why?
No, why?
If you ever loved me, don't rob me of my hate. It's all I have.
Let it go, Edmond. Let it go.
He was conflicted because he had as well to manipulate and use her to get to her husband, who was the biggest enemy and last target of Monte Cristo's revenge mission. Yet he did not want to hurt her and still in secret of course dreamed of a happy future with her. Emily is stuck in the same dilemma. She knows she has to destroy his family in order to get even. Maybe even Daniel in the process. But she cannot shake her feelings for him. And the need to try and save him. For example, isolating him from his family.
That house is toxic. You mind if I stay here a while?
No, not at all. As long as you need. I just don't want to come between you and your family.
You're not. You're actually saving me from them.
That was something she planned right from the start. To punish Victoria and bind Daniel closer to her.
Well, this was your plan all along, wasn't it? Rip the golden boy away from his family. Tear the Graysons apart from the inside.
This was a vital part and first step in her mission. This part can be very tricky because you do not want to push your target over the edge so they question you and your motives again. Interesting for me was to see after season 1 that it was not actual her love for Daniel that made her revenge mission complicated and destined her to fail like Takeda said. Actually it was the opposite.
I did not want to train you because your emotions destined you to fail.
Cause unlike Takeda who assumed her feelings would soften Emily and make her drop her vendetta out of love, it was her hatred who got all over the place that stood in her way. Anyway, falling in love with Daniel only helped her agenda. Because her first move was to get close to the Grayson family by becoming a part of them. And what could disperse Victoria's natural suspicion over Daniel's new girlfriend than to be actual in love with him? It is the perfect excuse to move that fast with getting married, and also for the natural competition between Victoria and Emily over Daniel's affection. But again, this is not without risk. Not only can your love grow and cloud your judgment, the opposite is far more dangerous when love turns into hate and despise. That you cannot control anymore. So getting to hate him in season 2 and 3 was a bad thing for Emily's revenge plan.
How dare you demand the truth? You're right, Daniel. I'm not an idiot. I know exactly what was happening this morning.
Oh, and this was in retaliation? Did you stop for a second to think about why I helped my father?
Does it matter? It's disgusting. I thought you were better than Conrad, but you're just as wrapped up in his lies.
Yeah.
Especially at the beginning of season 3 when her goal was to take Victoria down at the wedding.
I can't let him call off the wedding, Nolan.
Daniel can tell you're faking it with him.
I can't stand to be around him.
If you want to pull this off, you're gonna have to get past that.
I still do not get why this was so important. But hey, it prevented them from cancelling it, so I was on board. Like Emily, you must cope with your conflicting feelings. In season 1, her relentless bad conscience that came to the surface in almost every scene we saw Daniel and Emily happy together. Cause as she admitted after his death, Emily knew from the beginning that she would destroy this man in order to get her mission through.
I had hurt him. I married him for the wrong reasons, and when it all fell apart, it was like I threw a grenade into his life. The damage that I caused was real, and I knew it at the time.
You have to find the strength to deceive yourself. Cause not only your fake persona must be as authentic as it can be, your fake feelings have to be, too. They had to have a real relationship, not only for the sake of the pregnancy lie and appearances. And you also should be able to identify which one provides the best angle for your manipulation. Because Emily could have chosen Charlotte instead of Daniel to get her access to the Grayson family, but her young age and troubled soul makes her a really bad choice, so it had to be Daniel, even though he seems to think it had more to do with him personally. Oh, this big ego of man.
You chose me. Why?
You were expedient.
Nah, there's more to it than that. You went through great lying lengths to keep me around. Was any of it real?
Nothing comes to mind.
What about when I proposed to you? Can't tell me that you weren't with me in that moment. That it wasn't real. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Speaking of men and their big ego, another not so unimportant problem with the last step can be your actual boyfriend. Cause if you do not want to break up with him first and sacrifice him for your revenge mission, he has to be on board.
I'm sorry that you had to see that, but it didn't mean anything.
Sure did to Daniel.
You know, you asked me to trust you. Well, you need to trust me too. You can't just disappear when things get a little bit uncomfortable.
Which can lead to a lot more of hurt feelings for everyone involved.
Here last night to keep tabs on you and Daniel.
This plot gave Emily's bad conscience a new layer and doubled her problems not only with Daniel but her plan in general. Cause naturally Aiden as her real boyfriend had a hard time accepting that Emily of all people had chosen Daniel and being his fiancé as way to infiltrate the Grayson family.
I hate that it has to be this way.
You hate it.
You know that Daniel is not my focus. Victoria is. You can't be jealous of somebody that I don't
I'm
even
not
care
jealous,
about.
Emily. I'm disgusted. And I'm gonna deal with it the best I can.
But you have to deal with it, too. Cause you are hurting two people now. And at least one of them is someone you care for very much. However, you have to be capable of betraying them both.
I hate to say it, shouldn't you be with Daniel right about now?
I was. Daniel's pushing me to define our relationship.
What are you asking me for my permission?
I don't know.
As much as it was fun to see her duplicity with Daniel in season 2 and 3, Emily must have had many conflicting feelings because she was acting some kind like a prostitute, using her body to have her way with Daniel, but also being intimate with her true fiancé Aiden. Turns into Daniel and she wakes up totally confused. They go very far with this scene. I mean, this is literally how a secret agent must feel when she or he has to fake a relationship with her target, and it takes Daniel an awful long time to see that something changed with her. While Aiden can be sure of Emily's feelings, Daniel's doubts grow.
Tonight, when you didn't show up, I realized I'm the only one fighting for us.
That's not true.
Really? Because lately I've been feeling like I'm just playing a role in a story you're writing.
They really revel in this when Emily is sleeping with Aiden in the night before her wedding with Daniel, and on top of all this accepts Aiden's proposal. So sick.
So twisted, isn't it? Planning a wedding with one guy and honeymoon with another.
As you have seen, if you want to become a successful revenger like Emily, you have to develop some spy qualities.
Look at you, all gussied up like 007 again.
So what do you got for us today, Q?
Per Moneypenny's request.
After this glass, you should have mastered the 10 steps in becoming a master in revenge. Find the best trainer who can help you improve your physical fitness and manipulation tactics. Get yourself a set of fancy disguises. Find a way to get close to your enemies and even closer to your targets. Gather information either to blackmail people into doing what you want them to do, or to expose people to the authorities, or just make sure there is a scandal to cover for the press. Find yourself an ally who could help you with the techie stuff. A decoy and changing allies come in handy when you need distraction. As do fake badges when you question people and want to attribute more authority to yourself.
3 years now I've been undercover building a case against the Graysons.
Like an undercover cop, you have to be prepared to deceive people and lie to nearly everyone, including the people who are most close to you as your boyfriend. It was Ben who more than once saw the similarities between his work as an undercover cop and Emily's mission.
When I was a rookie, I worked undercover. But I do understand how hard it is to break people's trust in order to protect them. Not being able to be yourself, having to push people away, gets to you after a while. It's lonely. So I was undercover for 6 months. And you've been Emily for
11 years.
Right, the longer that you're under, the more the cover becomes a part of who you are. And then the harder it is to get back to that person you want to be.
So now you are either ready to be the lead in a show like Revenge or master revenge yourself in real life. What was your favorite move? Do you agree with my list? Or have I forgotten anything? Let me know in the comments below.